With so much information out there, it's sometimes hard to know what's best for your body during pregnancy. This is a time in your life when you want to do everything you can to ensure a healthy pregnancy and delivery, and I totally get that. And fitness shouldn't be excluded from that equation. It also might be an area where you have a lot of questions about. So I'm here to help you answer all of those questions and give you confidence you need to walk into the gym and feel strong and healthy and accomplished. First, know that you are so not alone. When I first found out I was pregnant, I started to feel a little fearful when I went into the gym, even despite all my years of experience coaching both pregnant and non-pregnant clients. So it's totally normal to experience that fear at first, but I do want to be here to give you tips and great advice so you can self-guide yourself through all 3 trimesters successfully. But before diving into exercises to avoid, I want to focus on sensations to avoid, because no 2 bodies are the same during pregnancy, and I want you to feel empowered to make your own choices toward your fitness. Let's first talk about breathing. So breathing is incredibly important for anyone working out, whether pregnant or not. But during pregnancy, you want to make sure that you keep the breathing fluid. So nice inhalations in through the nose and exhalations out through the mouth. Keeping it fluid ensures that you're not holding your breath and creating excess pressure in your abdominal wall, on your pelvic floor, or your diaphragm. Those of you familiar with the Valsalva breathing technique, it's kind of where you take a sip in, hold your breath and squat or bench press or deadlift. You'll want to avoid that Valsalva technique while pregnant. It just puts too much pressure on the abdominal wall and isn't necessary because you probably don't need to be lifting those loads right now anyways. So if you do feel the need to hold your breath or strain during a exercise, it's probably a good indicator that the load is a little bit too aggressive or the intensity is too much. So it's a great sign to just back off a little bit and remember that there's plenty of time after you give birth to train at high intensities. So for now, leave your ego at the door and deload and reassess if you feel like you're holding your breath. Next, let's talk about range of motion during exercises. So as soon as you become pregnant, a hormone called relaxin is released throughout your body. Now, this is actually a really good thing because it helps your ligaments stretch and accommodate your growing belly and ultimately helps you in the birthing process. So of course we want super stretchy tissue during that time. However, during exercise, this could lead to overstretching, deeper ranges of motion that you might not be able to control and ultimately could lead to injury. So a great way to avoid that is think of the back squat or goblet squat, right, for instance. Generally, you might be able to go all the way down to the bottom of the floor and back up with no problem. But if you are pregnant and you are extra stretchy, you might not be able to hang on to the same amount of tension. You might be dipping too low. So just set up a box or a platform behind you to ensure that same range of motion every single time that feels comfortable and successful to you. That's my tip, definitely for range of motion. Definitely avoid overstretching because of that relaxin. It is pumping through your Gumby-like body. Next, let's talk about pain or discomfort. So just as we talked about relaxin, sometimes those growing and stretching ligaments can create some pain and discomfort or tugging in the abdomen, and that is normal. However, during exercise, we never want to feel excess tugging or pain or discomfort caused by the exercise or bulging in the abdominal wall. So for instance, if you were doing a plank or a push-up and you're feeling a lot of outward pressure, especially during the 2nd and 3rd trimesters on your abdominal wall, that's probably a good indicator that it's a little bit too much pressure. So just elevate your hands on a bench or a bar to alleviate that abdominal wall pressure and to make sure that you can still gather your rib cage together and find tension in your abs without that discomfort or pain. Another example is squatting. So for instance, you might find a little bit of pressure in the perineum, the space between the anus and the vagina. If you're squatting and you're feeling a lot of pressure underneath that area, that's a good indicator that you need to either reassess your load, check your form, or just back off a little bit. Again, in the previous example, I used squatting to the box. That might actually be able to help you as well. So the best rule of thumb is if you experience any tugging, pain, discomfort, or any bulging in the abdominal wall, it's best to reassess either your load, your exercise selection, or the intensity at which you're working that day. So before we talk about exercises to avoid during pregnancy, I want to cover one more thing, and that is incontinence. So some women may find either pre or postnatal that they experience leaking during high impact activity like running, jumping, even squatting or pull-ups, or even sneezing, right? So if you find that you are leaking, know that it is a common issue. However, it is not normal. So common is not the same as normal. So first and foremost, I would definitely recommend taking a look at your form and seeing if there's something that you can adjust in your form to reduce that leaking experience. However, if it is continuing to happen on a regular basis, I highly recommend seeing a pelvic floor physiotherapist or specialist. They are wonderful at what they do, highly specialized to help women through these types of issues. They will assess your pelvic floor for function, proper function, and any sort of strengthening exercises that you could possibly do, or even releasing exercises that you could possibly do, because sometimes your pelvic floor is actually too tight and it needs to be relaxed or taught how to release. So that is my best advice in terms of incontinence. Reassess your form first and then seek the help of a professional and find one that is near you. So finally, what exercises should I totally avoid? Well, I hope that all the above information has really helped you to make your own decisions and feel confident and empowered when you are working on your own fitness. As long as you don't feel any discomfort, pain, bulging, incontinence during exercise, it's probably a pretty good indicator that what you're doing is working for you. So keep going, that's amazing. But if you do feel some of these things, now you have tools in your tool belt to help you reassess, readjust, and then continue on. Because keeping up with fitness and strength is not only important for your baby and for your delivery process, but for you, for mental clarity, for strength, and to just take that time to feel more like yourself. I know for me, when I first found out I was pregnant, the only time I really felt like myself was when I was working out. So if we can eliminate a little bit of that fear from women, I think that we all can work out much more empowered and treat ourselves to that gift of strength and fitness throughout all 3 trimesters of pregnancy. Now, the final thing I'm going to tell you is sometimes spinal flexion, aka crunching, or twisting can actually increase the risk of diastasis recti, which is the separating of the abdominal wall. So that would really be the only thing I would suggest avoiding throughout your pregnancy so that you don't come upon that issue. You still might have diastasis recti at the end of the day, but this would help you avoid that in the meantime. But again, reassess yourself, evaluate for yourself, and do what's best for you and your baby, because ultimately you know your body best and you know what you need. I hope this has been helpful. If you found it helpful, please comment below, tag your friends, share it, and DM me with any questions that you possibly have. Have a great day and a great pregnancy.